Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things ready through a common sense lens. And man, I'll tell you what, it's one of them situations where I don't know how many times you've got to say it. I don't know how far the polling has to drop on trust in media out there, but boys and girls, they were wrong once again. The legacy media out there for so long out there was just bashing David Zalslav when he came in as the new Warner Brothers CEO out there, saying it was terrible, and there was even rumors that he might be a conservative. So all the elites were against him, right? It was so hard. There was a lot of rumors going on out there that nobody wanted to work for Zaslav because of that. And that's why Warner Brothers was having so many problems finding talent, and why James Gunn ended up being the new head of DC, and yada, 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 everything else out there. Well, boys and girls, and what some might say is a hair-raising turn of events, David Zaslav's Warner Brothers leadership out there, boys and girls, has absolutely crushed it at the box office and beat Bob Iger's Disney into the ground, boys and girls, especially when it comes to profitability and overall success and hits for the year. And that is something that a lot of people out there thought that they would never see, but it once again proves that, boys and girls, just because you're on top at one point does not mean you're on top forever, and no one is too big to fail. Because as you can see over here from the headline at thatparkplace.com, David Zaslav shocks Hollywood by beating Bob Iger's Disney at the box office, even after predictions of doom. And boys and girls, how did they do that? By shattering box office records, with 7 consecutive films opening over $40 million, as Disney's roller coaster year exposes the weakness. And David Zaslav has seen that coming for a long time. When he took over Warner Brothers, everybody that was actually had any common sense left inside their head, or was at least honest, knew and was saying it out loud that Disney was in a bad spot. And this was the perfect time for Warner Brothers to come in and refresh themselves and actually try to give the old House of Mouse a real challenge. And it looks like, at least according to box office numbers so far, Warner Brothers is doing exactly that. So we're checking this article from thatparkplace.com. Probably jump over to the other one for some fun numbers as well. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I know YouTube algorithms acting weird right now, but please, by all means, we just crossed 2,100. We're inching our way closer and closer to 22 on our trip to 100,000, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let me know what you think about all of this. Does it surprise you at all that Warner Brothers has actually turned things around to a certain degree? At least it comes to your box office. Did you have doubts about David Zaslav as well? Or are you just happy to see Disney, Marvel, the Bob Iger Corporation actually see major losses and get beat by something that is arguably probably the most bankrupt studio in Hollywood? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from our dear sweet WDW Pro over at thatparkplace.com. Remember when David Zaslav was a buffoon CEO in need of being fired? Remember when Bob Iger was declaring that Disney was about to have their best box office run since 2019? We certainly do. And we were reminded of just how much and how quickly times can change, and how wrong the legacy media was. Through Labor Day and into early September 2025, Warner Brothers has edged past Disney in the domestic box office race on the strength of a remarkably balanced slate: family 4-quadrant plays, a rejuvenated DC tentpole, prestige action, and a red-hot horror run. The numbers year-to-date Studio Ledger shows Warner Brothers leading domestic market share and grosses $1.68 billion ahead of the Walt Disney Company's $1.53 billion. A data point that underscores Warner's consistency across multiple releases rather than a reliance on one mega hit, which has been one of the biggest problems, right? What's been the biggest problem with Disney? Marvel, Star Wars, television shows, movies, it doesn't matter. Massively overinflated budgets, because they thought everything they did, they thought Disney could do no wrong, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel. They were automatically going to poop out gold. And a lot of times we ended up getting crap. And that reflected, but it didn't matter because they'd still spent like everything was going to turn up roses. And more often than not, it turned up manure. But it didn't matter. They spent $300 million, $400 million, $500 million, $600 million on projects. It didn't stop them. It didn't stop them from doing that and having huge losses. What did Warner Brothers do? Kept the budget small, right? Made a profit. And even if that isn't the case, just raw numbers alone, despite Disney having some major box office hits this year, it didn't matter because overall, Warner Brothers beat them. 7 consecutive films opening up. Warner Brothers has just etched its name in the record books in a way Disney never has. Over the weekend, The Conjuring Last Rites stormed into theaters with an $83 million domestic debut, the 3rd largest opening ever for a horror film. Globally, the number 1 opening ever for a horror film. Don't believe me? Go check out our Conjuring video that we just released the other day, breaking down the full box office details for that movie. It was absolutely nuts. But what makes it historic is the bigger picture. This marks Warner Brothers' 7th consecutive film to open above $40 million. Boys and girls, this isn't a streak driven by a single franchise. Earlier this summer, Superman and a Minecraft movie both cleared the $100 million mark on opening weekend. Yet Warner Brothers also has turned smaller, riskier projects into real box office players. Original titles like Sinners, Weapons, and F1 performed far beyond expectations, proving the studio's strategy is not built on $1 billion gambles, but on a steady cadence of profitable releases, which is exactly what Zalslav had talked about early on, keeping things small and working forward progressively, trying to get it better. Horror in particular has been a powerhouse, pushing the genre past $1 billion domestically already this year, largely on the back of Warner Brothers' productions. They talk about The Tortoise and the Hare, which of course is funny because Bugs Bunny is literally the face of Warner Brothers, boys and girls. So it's kind of working out well for them. Obviously, Disney has had lots of things. When Disney wins, it wins big. Lilo and Stitch became the first Hollywood release of 2025 to cross the $1 billion mark with $416 million domestic and $584 million. Fueled $183 million weekend. Inside Out 2 soared even higher, $1.6 billion worldwide. Both Deadpool and Wolverine and Moana 2 also cracked billion-dollar franchises. But for every leap forward, there's a stumble. Snow White carried a staggering $240 to $270 million production cost, yet limped to $206 million worldwide. Thunderbolts pulled in just $382 million globally, well below its break-even threshold. Captain America, Brave New World, aka Captain Black America, managed $415 million worldwide on a budget many have claimed topped $300 million due to extensive reshoots. Pixar's Elio, another one, $153 million worldwide. Obviously, Fantastic Four is looking like it will not make a profit either. So that means Superman is the number 1 superhero movie of the year, boys and girls, bar none. And I apologize if you can hear the large construction stuff going on outside. There's people picking up some awesome trash. So it's one of them things out there. It's absolutely nuts, boys and girls, how crazy this has been. On the individual title level, Warner Brothers owns 2 of the year's top 3 domestic earners. A Minecraft movie sits narrowly ahead of Disney's Lilo and Stitch for the number 1 spot domestically, while Superman has added robust summer muscle at $353 million domestically. Box Office Mojo's 2025 leaderboard confirms the trio atop the chart, with F1 the movie also cracking the domestic top dozen. Together, these titles illustrate how Warner spread risk and reward across seasons. Minecraft spring, Superman midsummer, F1 late June, July legs. Momentum matters, and Warner seized it. James Gunn's Superman posted one of 2025's few $100 million plus domestic openings and quickly powered past $600 million. And I wouldn't exactly say quickly, but a lot faster than Fantastic Four because it's never going to hit that. Though one might readily admit it's probably less than originally planned, and there's definitely an argument to be made that the movie didn't make a profit, despite what some of the industry trade magazines will say, and despite the fact that I loved the movie. Hey, like I said, as a DC fanboy, I'll take the fact that it had the number 1 crown of the year of the superhero movies. The studio, when leveraged against August/September, a corridor many studios treat as a breather, turning it into a showcase. Zach Krieger's Weapons over-delivered with $42.5 million domestic debut and strong legs, while early September delivered for a blowout with The Conjuring: The Last Rites, capping an unprecedented Warner Brothers streak of $40 million opening stretching back to Minecraft. Barron's likewise pegs Warner's as more than just a first weekend leader, turning into a horror reigniting force of nature that nearly beat a month of Freakier Friday in just 3 days, boys and girls. 3 days. That is absolutely insane. Disney, to its credit, scored the first year and only Hollywood billion-dollar film, Lilo and Stitch. We talked about that. But beyond that, Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts underperformed historical MCU norms, limiting Disney's ability to convert one monster performer into an insurmountable market share lead. Industry trades are noticing. A recent summer wrap highlighted Disney's narrow seasonal market share win, but labeled Warner Brothers the toast of the town, crediting Weapons, Superman, Apple's F1 the movie, distributed by Warner, and carryover from a Minecraft movie and Sinners for the Surge. The piece doubles as a narrative pivot for Warner's film chiefs and for whom results have quieted skepticism. Yeah, ain't so many people talking trash about David Zalslav anymore. How many people out there you see still sucking Bob Iger off left and right? Far less than what they were before. What is so amazing about how all of this is the tables have utterly turned on the two CEOs going head to head. 1 year ago, 24/7 Wall Street was declaring that David Zaslav should be fired from Warner Brothers and labeled him a catastrophe. David Zaslav has had a chance to make the merger work, and it has been a catastrophe. David McIntyre from Wall Street. Meanwhile, everyone was ready for the second coming of 2019 based on what Bob Iger was saying just a few months ago. Yeah, how'd that work out for him at the box office, boys and girls? Not so much. I've had a lot of confidence that our upcoming slate, Iger said. He then pretty much listed all of them out individually. Other films Iger singled out for having attention and endorsement are Pixio's Elio in June. How'd that work out? Flop. Fantastic Four: First Steps in July. Flop. As well as Tron Ares, which, depending on the budget, might make a profit. Zootopia 2, which very possibly might do well considering Inside Out 2's success. And Avatar 3: Fire and Ash, which we know is going to make $1 billion, but that's because of James Cameron, not anybody actually working inside the creative departments of Disney. But will Hollywood elites acknowledge that Zaslav is serving crow and Disney can't go with the comeback story they wanted so badly? Don't hold your breath, but maybe do hold the receipts. And that's the point, right? That's why we make videos like this. That's why we talk about this. Is Warner Brothers and Disney's competing box office numbers going to be the biggest hit in the algorithm out there? Probably not. But the fact that Warner Brothers, we can now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, document it and prove it mathematically, has the ability to crush Disney, which includes Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and Disney Animation proper. This man right here, David Zaslav, the person that everybody in Hollywood claimed to hate, that Wall Street 24/7 was just talking about last year, needs to be fired and removed because he's failed miserably. Well, who's laughing now? Certainly not Bob Iger. He knows those numbers better than any of us do, outside of maybe his CFO. He knows how much money they're actually spending on those television shows, on those movies, and so does David Zaslav. And whether or not how legitimately profitable either of these companies currently is based on these box office doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, what we do know beyond a shadow of a doubt, what you cannot deny, is that Warner Brothers so far has had a much better Disney, a much better year than Disney, has done much better than Disney. And that's despite 3 Marvel movies with Hollywood's darling Pedro Pascal right at the front and center of one of them. You know who beat them? David Zaslav, Superman, James Gunn, David Cornsweet, Minecraft movie with Jack freaking Black. Okay? With The Rock in the ridiculous outfits they had them in. That beat Disney. Warner Brothers, the company that just a few years ago was on the verge and essentially bankrupt, has now, under the CEO's leadership of David Zaslav, has now turned into beating the House of Mouse at the box office, boys and girls. That in itself is amazing beautiful and a wonderful sign from God himself on high that things really are turning around, that common sense really is returning to our culture, and that when you actually do a good job, you will be rewarded for it. And David Zalslav has done exactly that, because the audience and the fans have decided that Warner Brothers deserve to beat Disney. Bob Iger, can you say you're proud of your accomplishments over the last few years? Can you say you beat somebody else out there? Or are you getting crushed by a company that was bankrupt just a few years ago? Because at least Zaslav, to some degree, has listened to the fans, while Iger and all of the narcissism believes they knew better than everybody else, including their own audience. How's that worked out for them the last few years, boys and girls? A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.